You're watching an episode of Spirits People Live with Johnny Michelson.
Hey guys, it's Johnny here. Thank you so much for checking out Spirits People Live. This is a series of recordings from Instagram where I connect with spirits enthusiasts around the world and we share our personal stories and our passion for fine spirits with you guys. In this episode of Spirits People Live, I'm talking with Steven. Steven is also known on Instagram as rum_diaries, and he's an extremely knowledgeable and well-versed rum connoisseur based right here in the UK. Now in this video we talk about how Steven got into rum at a very early age. We also talk about the different categories of rum, and of course we talk about what the rum community is like worldwide. Now I actually met Steven at the Rum Fest right here in London, so I'm excited to actually catch up with him and congratulate him on the award that he won for Best Rum Writer of the Year 2018. So that's it, let's jump into the video. Thank you so much for watching.
For more videos, check out spiritspeople.com. Subscribe on YouTube and be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we connect you with spirits people worldwide.
Dum dum da! Spirits Tuesday, here we go. Welcome, welcome. Today we have Mr. Steven James joining me. Steven is a rum connoisseur, so this should be interesting. Oh, there he is, on the dot. Steven. We got more people. Spiritus Frumenti is joining. Welcome, welcome. We're going to be talking rum today. And Claire's joined. You made it. Welcome, welcome. I'm having a rum. Of course I am. Jeremy is joining as well. From work, probably. So because we're talking rum, I am currently drinking some of this, which I have announced publicly that I simply cannot stop drinking, although it is a little bit gimmicky. It is a chocolate and coffee flavored rum. It's absolutely amazing. Driving home, dude, watch the road. Jeremy is watching and driving. This is no good. All right, so today I've invited Steven James to join me on this Spirits Tuesday live stream, and as I mentioned before, he is a rum connoisseur, and I also posted up yesterday that he just won an award because he is so awesome, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. So let's see if I can add Steven here. How does this work again? Oh, there we go. Okay, add. So while we wait for Steven to join, oh, there he is. Wait no more.
Okay. How you doing, you right?
How's it going, Steven?
Yeah, good man, you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I got my rum going.
I've upgraded my water to a glass of something.
All right. What you got in your glass?
I've gone with the 60% Hampden.
Oh,
it's got to be done.
So good, so good.
Yeah, definitely.
So I reached out to you a little while back because I'm actually going to Jamaica in 3 weeks, and you recommended going and seeing that distillery, and I'm hoping that I can convince my wife and my friends who are also going to be there that, to go and see the Hampden distillery. So yeah. It's still in the cards. We'll see. It's not yet been planned.
Right.
But yeah, I'm really. I've seen some pictures. It looks absolutely amazing. It looks pretty old school.
Yeah, definitely. It's. I mean, they're using fermentation vats that were in use, 150, 200 years ago.
Oh wow!
In terms of the stuff that rum making there. The beauty with that is, I mean, Barbados kind of modernized slightly, and a lot of the distilleries got their own coffee column still, and they work alongside a pot. Jamaica was really reluctant to get rid of their pot still. So a lot of places, I mean, there's only obviously Appleton have got a facility where their stuff isn't pure pot. That's pot and column.
Okay.
Ray and Nephew is a pot and column blend. Everyone thinks it's pot, but there's actually some column in Ray and Nephew. Money Musk, they've got a multi-column setup, but obviously that's kind of a Captain Morgan thing where they make a lot of bulk rum there. But, you know, things like Hampden and Worthy Park, they're a moment in time. They're proper old school rum making. I would love to visit.
Solid. I can't wait. And speaking of Worthy Park, so Worthy Park, so we'll talk about Rum Fest in a second, but this is the one I picked up. So this here is and this is kind of a transcontinental line. I think this is La Maison de Whiskey who does this. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. I got to try it at the Rum Fest, and I think this was probably the favorite of everything I tasted. It was just absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that for me is that's like 2013, isn't it? I think that's one. Yeah, 57%. So it's the Navy strength.
You know your numbers.
That one, I think that just goes to. I've seen a few people that they're not too keen on that particular one, but that for me is, if you're going continentally aged Worthy Park, or at least a percentage continentally aged, that's one of the best expressions that I've had of that. And I think I described it as it's like licking treacle off the back of a spoon while somebody's flambeing bananas in the next room. It's a damn good rum at a damn good price.
It was £65. I was absolutely. I thought this was going to be 150 easy, but yeah, at £65, it was an easy purchase. I walked straight up and picked it up, and there was quite a few of them there. It was the only one from the transcontinental line that was available at the Rum Fest. You could buy. All the other ones are not there.
Yeah, they've got a Fiji, and I think I'm after the higher proof version of the Fiji, the 48. I think it's probably quite tasty, but I'd love to go for the higher proof. But I've asked the question whether we're getting UK stock of it, and it doesn't seem positive. So it'll be another purchase from France or Italy for me, I think. Yeah.
What you gonna do? You'll walk the back roads.
Yeah. I'll take the hardship. Yeah.
Cool. So, Stephen, what I'll do, I'll show the viewers here, because your Instagram is obviously very, very rum focused, and if I scroll down here, if anyone out there is familiar with the good stuff, they'll recognize that this is pretty much all the good stuff. So it
didn't used to be.
No. We all start somewhere, and that's the thing. But yeah, like you and I think we probably first met on British Bourbon Society because you are a member, or were. I don't know if you're still.
Yep. I still am. Yeah.
So back then, I had literally 0 rums in my collection. And I think over the past couple of months, I've added a few bottles, including also this one now, which is also pretty good. So your stuff, and I have a couple of questions, but I wanted to say congratulations, because you did win an award just quite recently.
I did, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. What was the award for, and what was the event?
It's it was Rum Fest, but on the Sunday evening. They didn't run it last year, but they did the year before, and a few years previous. They have the Golden Rum Barrel Awards, where they'd. I'm not really sure of the criteria for people to get nominated or chosen.
Okay.
But they have a few awards. Say it'll be Distillery of the Year, Producer of the Year. They have like Brand Ambassador, Bar of the Year, that kind of thing, and they have. They've run it differently in the past. They've had a UK writer or website award, and then in the past they've also had an international award. But this year it was just combined into Rum Writer and Website of the Year 2018, and
Oh, there it is.
I keep it with me at all times. I flavour it on a chain on my neck.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. But yeah, it's it was. Yeah. On the tram in the morning on the way to work. But yeah, it was a strange one because this year I think was particularly tough in terms of the category and the people that were nominated. The people that didn't get through to the shortlist surprised me. With a few of them, there were some really good writers on there. But I mean, I had it pegged that Wes at Fat Rum Pirate, he was going to win it because the effort that he puts in is bonkers. He's churning out articles all the time, and he does some good stuff. And I don't really. Maybe there's a bit of rivalry between writers in certain fields, but I have no competitive edge whatsoever.
Right.
So myself and Wes, we're good friends.
Yeah.
And I would have been equally as happy if he'd have picked up the trophy as I was, because we both run the UK Rum Club on Facebook. Half of the stuff that he writes about are free samples from me. So he keeps saying I've got to give you something back because you keep giving me bags full of samples every year at Rum Fest. Yet, don't give me anything else. I've not got any time to review any other stuff. But the guy that was up there, there's the Rumcast guys who are three friends from down in London. They run a lot of tasting events. Good guys.
Cool.
They've recently started a company called Skylark Spirits.
Okay.
And they import a lot of the single barrel selection stuff from 1423 in Denmark.
All right.
Joshua, who does a lot of stuff over there, bottles. He also does the cask finish series to Worthy Park as well.
All right.
Which you may not have seen because you weren't at Rumfest on the Friday. But they've got some really beautiful little. I saw the picture yesterday. The three new cask strengths or the cask finishes had arrived. But
yeah.
So it's I've got no real competitive edge for it. And Matt was up from Cocktail Wonk in the States. He does a lot of long form articles, a lot of really informative stuff. Just to get nominated was great, but I think I was the least expectant of the nominees. And I won it.
All right, you're too humble.
Yeah.
So I think just for the audience here, because obviously you're like looking at your website is one thing, looking at your Instagram and like all this good stuff. But like, how did this all start? Like, how'd you get into rum?
Well, my wife will tell you that it was her that got me into rum, and she's cackling in the background. Yeah, don't listen to it; it's a lie. My first taste of rum, I was maybe 3 years old, and my parents used to drop me off with my granddad on a Saturday afternoon. He'd want to watch the sport on TV, so he's ex-army. He was out in the desert in the Second World War. Obviously, there's a lot of things to do in the downtime. I'm assuming drinking's one of them. He used to like his Lamb's Navy rum.
All right.
So on a Saturday afternoon, he would make me a really milky coffee and put a liberal helping of Lamb's Navy rum in there.
Nice.
And that would kind of pacify me for the afternoon. I think as that carried on, I think he had to up it, so he started using woods, which is up to 60%.
Yeah, I got one of those here as well.
Yeah, he threw the woods in there. 57, I think it is woods. He threw that in there, so it was a case of he needed to up his game to kind of keep me quiet. So my first taste of rum was my granddad, aged 3 years old. But in terms of the writing thing, it was born of necessity, really. I did drink rum, but during the recession, I'm in the architecture as my day job. So I'm a senior technologist for an architectural practice. And during the recession, the office went from, I think it was 60 people down to 16, and I was one of 16 retained. But we were churning in, 105, 115 hour weeks, and it was unsustainable.
Yeah.
So I think we all kind of got a little bit bogged down in the industry and in the job. So I decided that I needed a distraction. And a friend said, "Well, you're interested in rum. Why not try writing about it?"
Yep.
So I started the site, and yeah, it was kind of my savior during that time.
Cool.
And it's just grown. So yeah.
How long is that ago since you started the site?
When are we now? 2018. So it's probably 2013 it started.
All right.
Started really slowly, and yeah, I've never been the most prolific writer in terms of content. In fact, I've probably done more in the last 2 years than I did in the first 3.
Oh.
I think I've probably done more in the past 12 months than I did in the first 4 years. But yeah, so it built from there. And I know there's a theory that when people see a lot of rums, they say that they're gateway rums, which is a phrase that I'm not really sure that I adhere to. It's does somebody that drinks Southern Comfort now immediately go on and buy a cast strength Elijah Craig or anything? They wouldn't necessarily do that. So
Probably not.
I don't think gateway exists, but I mean, I definitely think I'm proof that palates can change. I mean, I used to love a lot of the stuff now that is I just find quite abhorrent, really, and quite just ridiculous that I purchased those bottles in the first place. But it was. But I'm purchasing a lot better rum for a lot less money now, because I'm not buying into the marketing, and I'm doing it off my own back and actually researching and knowing what I'm buying now as opposed to buying what I was being told to buy.
So I guess like one question I have, and this maybe other people might be interested in this, like, because there are different categories of rum. There's like your classic like white rums, like whatever, like you'd recognize a Bacardi bottle anywhere. You got your Captain Morgans, you got your spice, you got your darks. Like what are those different categories like, and what are the different ways that those are made? Because I don't necessarily know, and I could Google it, but since I have you here, if you don't mind giving us kind of a small kind of 5-second lecture about like what those different categories are.
Yeah, I mean, they run things in white, dark, gold, spiced, but you could have an unaged rum, which would be a white rum that has caramel colour in there. It has no age, but it's an illusion of age because it's golden in colour.
Okay.
Hampden Gold is one of those. It's their unaged product, brought down to 40% with a couple of drops of caramel colour in there. And things like people automatically associate darkness of a product with flavour and with age.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily so. You look at something like lambs and woods. Whilst there is age in there, there's not enough age in there to make the rum black. I mean, how old's the Kraken?
Yeah.
It's probably unaged nonsense. It's definitely nonsense. But there's a movement for a categorization based upon production techniques.
Okay.
So it's proposed by Luca Gargano from Velier. It's backed up by Richard Seal, Foursquare, and it's looking to categorize things based upon production techniques, because you wouldn't go into a bar and ask for a dark whiskey or a gold whiskey.
No.
It's a nonsense when you put it in that, but people will ask for a white rum or a dark rum or a gold rum, and it gives you no indication of what you're getting. So the Gargano classification essentially lumps it by, it's not hierarchy, it's production methods. So you're looking at a pure single rum, which is a pure pot still from one distillery, single blended rum, which is coffee column, so a twin column, traditional column still rum, blended with a pot still rum from one distillery. Then we would have traditional rum, so that's places like Antigua, I think have got a twin column, St. Vincent, where they've got twin column over in St. Lucia as well. They produce a lot of stuff for them that's entirely column. But then that's traditional rum. Then you would have what would be classed as just rum, which is the product of a multi-column setup. Okay. So that's I think what would classically be called a Spanish style. Okay. So that's your Havana Clubs. Although Havana Club is kind of blended with a slightly grassier aguardente, like an unaged distillate, which I don't think comes off their multi-column setup. So that kind of gives that a little bit more flavor. But yeah, so it's to try and categorize it based on production techniques, so that you know what you're buying. Like, you know, if you're buying a single malt whiskey, or you're buying a single grain whiskey. So your single malt whiskey would be your pot still product, so your pure single rum. If you're buying, I don't know, Compass Box Hedonism, like a beautiful grain whiskey, that would be your traditional column still rum.
Okay.
And the blended would be kind of, you know, your blended whiskies.
I feel like my mind is it's being blown here. That's awesome. So I guess and then there's a thing, and I think I know, but I'm not 100% sure. Like the word agricole. So
yes.
What exactly is that a definition of? If that's a similar thing, or is that like, I think it's like a geographical thing. Is that correct?
Agricole's pure cane juice. So it's the first press juice of the sugar cane, and essentially the naturally present yeast on the cane starts the fermentation process. So you find that that's obviously in the French West Indies, where it's called agricole. You can rules are different in places, but pretty much in the States you can attach the word agricole to anything, I think.
Okay.
Whereas, but an agricole, as I would think an agricole would be, is French West Indies.
Yeah.
And then you have the AOC, which operates in Martinique, which essentially sets down a series of criteria based on distillation method, how what ABV you can distill to, and sets a certain level of criteria so you can get the AOC mark on the bottle. Well, essentially, agricole, as you would think, is agricultural rum, so it's from the first press of the sugarcane. Although you do look at that St. Nicholas Abbey in Barbados, they press their sugarcane and then I think they try and extract as much of the water content as possible when they're boiling it down to create what the marketing guys at Zacapa have called sugarcane honey. But that's it's a sugarcane syrup. It just makes it. It doesn't make it, you know, beautifully, you know, pungent and sweet, and that will make the rum sweet.
Okay.
Doesn't do that. What makes rum sweetened is stuff added post distillation. There are no things such as residual sugars. You're doing it wrong if you're getting sugars passing across into your rum.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so it's essentially agricole is the first press of the sugarcane juice.
All right. Okay. Interesting. That's not what I thought it was. So I'm glad.
Right. Okay. What did you think it was?
I thought it was like a geographical thing, like certain islands had almost like a champagne and a cognac and those kind of things. It was like an area. But yeah, completely off there. That shows how much I know.
Well, you can produce molasses rum in. I mean, you don't have to adhere to the AOC. So in Martinique, you could produce something that's non-AOC. I think there was a Lefebvre bottle in quite a while back that had kind of like macerated prunes in there and macerated fruit, which obviously isn't AOC because you're not allowed to do that. Right. But in the French West Indies, you've got distilleries producing molasses-based rum, and you can get some really good stuff from I think it's the Bellevue in Guadeloupe. They do a column still rum with molasses, and it puts out a beautifully kind of medicinal flavored distillate. It's good stuff. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say that because I quite like it, but I quite like the medicinal flavors of certain stills. Certain stills have got a character to them, and I like the stuff from Guadeloupe.
Cool. So I guess, and we touched on it a little bit before. So we met at the Rum Fest briefly.
Yes.
But I was curious because I went to the Rum Fest for the first time.
Right.
And it was slightly different than going to things like a Whiskey Live or a Whiskey Show and stuff like that. I think it's a little bit more like, it feels more like a party than just a formal kind of tasting event. There's a lot more, obviously, and I think more people will associate rum with cocktails and stuff like that, and then whiskey is a little bit more of it's a different game. But there were the kind of tasting opportunities at each stand, but then there's usually a cocktail and stuff like that. But in terms of the just the kind of community and the people that are into rum, like what's it like? Like what's that kind of community like? Is it like a big luau every day?
It can be. I mean, part of the Rum Fest weekend for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Rum Fest weekend and everything that it brings in terms of getting to try new things. Going to a few of the seminars is always good fun. But it brings a lot of people from a lot of places together in one location. And I think it's a sense of, we're starting to take ourselves a little bit more seriously, or trying to get other people to take the spirit more seriously. We don't necessarily take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
But there's a hell of a community around it. And, you know, I've noticed obviously on the British Bourbon Society, when you've got the little meetups they have in certain areas, and I wish we did a little bit more of that in whiskey circles, to be brutally honest. To try and have these little regional meetups, and I think it's something that in the UK Rum Club on Facebook that we're going to try and look to implement, to try and get something regional, because everyone's dotted all over the place.
Yeah.
But I mean, at Rum Fest this year, it's good. It's a nice place to try new things. We have people over from Canada, guys over from Denmark, Ireland, just, you know, even people, you know, a few people down from Scotland for it, and it's just a good get together. And Rumfest's great, but it's the little gatherings that happen elsewhere outside of Rumfest that are also a little bit more fun. You know, getting together with a few bottles and a meal after a day's worth of drinking rum. What are you going to do but go and drink another 2 bottles of rum? Yeah. But I mean, like, you've not had enough during the day. But it's that there's a sense of community there with regards to the guys, and a willingness to sample swap and do things like that. But at Rumfest itself, it's good. There's a good setup, a good lineup of people. With it being a relatively small community, and I've not really experienced anything in whiskey circles apart from Stoke Whiskey Festival, where a lot of people seem to know each other. But we know a lot of the exhibitors, a lot of the producers. There seems to be a lot more access to producers. You go to a lot of whiskey festivals, and it's not necessarily the master distiller or master blender that's going to be at the whiskey festival. It's going to be the brand representative.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you walk around Rumfest, you've got Zan, who's the export manager for Worthy Park. You've got Chris Dell, who's part of the Harris family, who's the Hussey family own Everglade Farms, which own the Long Pond Sugar Factory, and also own Hampden Estate. Chris Dell's walking around Rumfest. Richard Seal and Gail from Foursquare walking around. You've got Master Blend from Don Q was there. You've got there's more access to the guys that make the stuff at Rumfest, and it's brilliant because you get up close and personal. You can ask those awkward questions that the brand representatives wouldn't necessarily know the answer to.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's there's good access to producers for a lot of the rum festivals.
That's awesome. So I guess so my question is, because I know my favorite was at the Rum Fest and I bought a bottle, but I'm curious to hear, because you probably may have tasted some stuff from under the counters that, because you know someone, it's easier to kind of like, oh, you have some good stuff down there, whereas like I'm completely new and walking around, like they're not going to like pour up a cool bottle. So what was your favorite of the weekend tried at the Rum Fest? And it could be at one of because you went to probably some events as well, like some of the tastings and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. I could probably give you 5. Two. Right. There we go. Right. I would say that I don't know if you saw the Mahoba guys from South Africa.
Yeah.
They're producing some unbelievable stuff. I saw them first time last year. They had a few expressions there, and whilst they didn't hit the heights of what they have now, they were really promising in terms of the stuff that they were doing.
Yeah.
And they got a really high ester, dunder-ridden, long ferment, white, unaged rum. That was good, but I'd say the French oak cask that they produced was unbelievable. I'd say one of them would be the French oak cask. Difficult with the next one. There are two absolute stunners. Dawley's 14, which is another one out of Foursquare.
Okay.
We only ever thought we'd see a 12-year-old tropically aged rum from Foursquare, but we're down to a 14 now, which I think is still a product of their double maturation, but it's 14 years old. I think it's a Madeira cask. And also there's a 12-year-old of Worthy Park that will be coming later in the year. And both of those were superb. So I'll put those two as a tie. Because there's some unbelievable stuff that's in the pipeline, and one was available on general tasting at Rum Fest, and that was the Dawley's 14. If you greased Peter Holland's palm, you may have got to taste it. But yeah, the Friday was. He's floating rum. Floating rum check. He's a good guy. But on the Friday was when Worthy Park displayed at the Boutique Rum Fest, which is kind of a smaller trade event. Yeah. So you get to get up close and personal with a few more producers, and you actually get to talk to them, which is sometimes sadly missing on the Saturday. Sunday's a better day at Rum Fest, I think, if you want to talk to people. Right. Saturday's kind of
it was quite busy on the Saturday, and Diego as well. I met Rum Compass. Ran into him saying, Sunday is easier access. I was trying to get into the Claren stand. Yeah. I was trying to get through the whole range. I think I managed to get 2, and then people were kind of trying to cut me short. And it's like, all right, okay. So I had my goes. I was happy, but I did want to try them more. But
they start throwing elbows, don't they?
I will say though, because and I'll take my hat off for the event people at Rum Fest, because we did show up. I did buy an early pass. I may or may not have drank a little bit too much the night before, and we showed up pretty late. So they gave us a weekend pass, even though we just played on Saturday. So hats off, well done, good service. But we were too hungover to show up on the Sunday, so it didn't work out. But they're good guys. It
is a good event. I have enjoyed every single visit there. There's never really been a bad weekend that we've had there. To be honest, everyone's friendly, everyone's nice. It's just a nice, easygoing atmosphere.
Yeah. No, it was really cool. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. So I guess because not everyone will be able to purchase all these good rums. So do you have a favorite kind of supermarket rum, or readily available rum that is a good quality that you would recommend that someone go pick this up if you can't find if you can't find any of the Worthy Park and Hampden and whatever goodies that's out there?
But that is the beauty. You don't have to spend a fortune to get good rum if you're after honest stuff. Certain stuff that I buy that I wouldn't necessarily want to drink neat. I mean, I've got a lot of unbelievably good bottles, but I'm not averse to a rum and coke every now and then, or several in one evening. But you can often find Appleton. I still call it the VX, but I think it's the signature blend now. That's the often find that on offer in certain supermarkets for £15 a bottle.
Oh wow!
It's a pot column blend. Not a huge amount of age on it, but it's got enough Jamaican character in there to really stand out, and a little bit of pot still goes a long way, especially if you are throwing it in a rum and coke, or even making an old fashioned with it. Chairman's Reserve from St. Lucia. I think places like Sainsbury's have that for about £20. Also good. And if you want to step up, I've noticed that places like Asda are getting a lot more. They're getting a lot more rum in there, but a lot of it ain't rum. You're getting a lot of really shocking spiced rums and what have you. And I think it's spiced rum has a place, and it's a seller, and maybe it brings people to the category. I don't know. My route in wasn't through spiced rum, so I'm not too sure on that one. But places like Asda, you can pick up, if you find it at the right price, you can pick up a bottle of Mount Gay XO, which is a blend of pretty old rums. You're not going excessively aged, but enough to give you an idea of the amount of character that you can get in a pot calling blend.
Awesome.
And enough wood influence in there to make an absolutely stunning old fashioned. So yeah, and that's probably my main use for Mount Gay XO.
So M&S.
Yep.
And this I did check today, and it's no longer on the shelf. This is on clearance at £30, and I personally, and this is all that's left is this little bit.
Right.
So I haven't had this for this long. I do have another 3 bottles in here.
Right.
This is absolutely neat. Maybe not like the most amazing thing. I think it's a Solera of 12 and 21s in there, as far as I read.
Not a true Solera.
What's that?
Not a true Solera.
Probably.
They use that on there as a marketing term. We've spoken to the guys that do it. It's more a traditional blend, but Solera is the word that sells.
All right. Yeah, it does say Solera on there. It's a whole nother, and it's a different, like with the age statement, I guess a lot of distilleries, or not distilleries, a lot of the stands that I was talking to at the Rum Fest were saying like, oh, since it's Solera, it's like, oh, it's a 25-year-old rum. It's like, oh, so it's like, but what's like, how old is it? It's like, oh, no, no.
Exactly. There's another movement that kind of is looking to put, and if you're producing stuff in Barbados, Jamaica, Guyana, the number on the bottle is the youngest rum in the blend, and that's what they need to do. That's what they have to do. That's what they're enforced to do. If you put a number on the bottle, it's the minimum age.
So like whiskey is like that standard. So I guess like if you're a whiskey drinker and trying to get into rum, like the age statements can be quite confusing maybe.
Yeah, and also it's not a like for like comparison when you're talking about maturation locations, because you'd lose in Scotland 2-3% barrel contents a year through evaporation. In the Caribbean, especially in somewhere like Martinique, I think in the initial couple of years you lose more, potentially up to 10% of the barrel contents through evaporation a year.
Yeah.
And that could maybe shallow out to about 5 years. I think Martinique's got a particularly hot climate, so you maybe consistently get 7%. So you're looking at maturation. If you're after if you pick up a 5-6-year-old rum, it's probably the equivalent of a 12 to 15-year-old whiskey in terms of maturity of the spirit.
Yeah.
Just the oxidation and the exchange through the barrel is far greater given the climate.
Yeah. So it's got some thirsty angels down there.
Yeah, well, duppies they call them, because they're devilish characters, because there's nothing angelic about stealing someone's rum, is there?
It's another marketing thing there.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So one more question, and then we'll move into, because we do need to give stuff away. It is Spirits Tuesday. So one more question for you. If you're not drinking rum, what would you pour yourself or make yourself if it's a cocktail thing? Like any kind of spirit, what would you choose?
Cocktail, it would always be a Mai Tai. I just, I love them. Can't get enough. It's just playing around with the rum blends and shaking things up a bit. But in terms of other spirits, I really like PT whiskey. So I would, I went from a position where I absolutely hated it due to being served large glasses of cheap, horrible blends in my late teens, and then not really being too chipper the next day after them. So it took me a while, but I think the sweet spot for me is things like that come out of Lechig, so from the Tobermory distillery.
Okay.
I think it's that the Isle of Mull. I think that's on. Well, six months a year they produce the peated stuff. 6 months they produce their non-peated. So
Right.
kind of like relatively young peaty whiskey. So young Kalilas, young Lechigs, that kind of thing.
All right.
So that's my preference, is a young bitey independent bottling of a peaty whiskey.
A guilty pleasure.
Mm.
I did
Yeah.
not see that coming. I thought it was
No.
like a slow gin or something like.
No, it's I went to the extreme opposite.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Spirits Tuesday, you know all about it. You
Mm-hmm.
are probably the leading, not the leading lady, but you are the leader. I think, let's see here. Rum Daddy, if you have entered 12 times in total, and that is the most anyone has entered. So that's amazing. Thanks for that.
I've got a lot of time on my hands.
and a lot of bottles. What's your current bottle count before we get into this?
Probably around 450.
Oh God.
And I would say half are open.
Jesus Christ. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say to that. Like, I hope you have a big house.
Yeah, well, we moved to fit the collection. The remit was to get a house that has a converted garage to get enough shelf space for the rum collection.
Oh God. You have a barrel then, like you need like a little tasting, like a little environment there we can go and get into it. Is it like a little setup?
Yeah, I've got the shelves in and around the back of the room, and just like a little half moon crescenty bar that's got a few cocktail ingredients on it, and yeah, that's where I do the pouring. That's where if there's a bottle shot on the website,
yeah,
that's where the bottle is situated on top of that bar with the shelves in the background.
Yeah. Oh, nice, dude. I really want to come visit.
Go for it. The rum is free, but if you want a cup of tea, we charge for that. So,
all right, that's a hard choice then. I'll have to think about it.
Let's go for the free rum, baby.
Yeah, maybe. I'll drink a lot of tea before I go, and then I'll drink rum at your house.
Go for it.
All right, we got Mark here saying the IKEA bookcase thing is perfect. You fit like
Billy
6
bookcases.
bottles.
Yeah,
Nice.
Billy bookcases. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, and a lot of the square units.
Mm.
But my wife's taken a photograph of the. I don't know if you can quite see that.
Oh God, yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like a picture of heaven for any rum fan there.
Pretty much, yeah. I know what I do on my days off from work.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm trying to build out. I have one Billy bookcase, but it's been stacked to the rim here, so the shelves are starting to bend a little bit.
Yeah, it gets to that. What I end up doing is what I should end up doing is cutting some new bits of timber to brace the shelves, but what I end up doing is putting a really tall bottle that barely fits on the shelf in the middle, and then it kind of holds everything else up.
That's what I've done.
Yeah, it's the best solution.
Yeah. The problem is that's the bottle that's the perfect height is something that I really want to drink quite a lot. So
So you run the risk of pulling other bottles off the shelf when you take it.
So now I can't drink that one until I get better distribution of bottles.
Yeah. No, I've just seen a comment come in saying the square unit is better for structural integrity. It is, and in the square unit you probably get maybe 3 to 4 bottles deep as well.
Yeah.
So you're probably 3 deep, 3 or 4 deep, 3 or 4 wide. So you can fill that in terms of there, but it's IKEA for the win, I think, when it comes to shelves.
Mark is saying I'm Scandinavian. Yes, but I'm not Swedish, dude. What the hell?
Don't lump everyone in the same category.
Oh gosh. We just opened up that conversation. All right, Mark. Let's see where this takes us. I'll meet you outside. All right, cool. Here we go. Whiskey and rum and all kinds of spirits for Spirits Tuesday. I need to get organized here. I think I'm organized. Yeah, I'm organized. I'm ready. Always have to check. All right, cool. So you know the drill.
Yep.
I'm gonna flip the screen here.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna get into it. Gonna see if I can get stuff into view. There we go.
Cool.
All right. So as usual, we have our people in here that has not won a tote bag, and as you know, but not everyone may know, so every week I do a draw for a free Spirits People tote bag, and if you join Spirits Tuesday, you will have the opportunity to win one. So let's see, we have 2 is the first number, and 51 is the last number. So I will please have you say a number between 2 and 51, both numbers included.
2 and 51. Right. I'm going to go for 41.
41. All right, cool. So I'm going to randomize right here. All right. Tom Profit. We have a whiskey drinker. Tom Profit. Congratulations. And he has entered 7 times to be able to call himself a winner of a tote bag. That's amazing.
Persistence is key.
7 entries. Like, you did quite a few entries before you
I think it was 9 or 10, wasn't
winner,
it?
so I think 7 is decent.
Yeah, definitely.
Mark says he's being robbed. I don't know. I don't know. All right, so what are we going to do? I need to move Mr. Tom Profit from one list to another, which takes me a second. So while I do that, I'll ask you another question to entertain the viewers. So if, made a mistake. Sorry. Multitasking is not my forte. If you were to name a child or a pet, and I asked this question last week, but I thought it was hilarious. I'm going to ask it again. If you were to name a child or a pet after a bottle, and we'll say rum, because you're a rum guy. So if you were to choose any bottle of rum, pick the name for your son or daughter or dog or cat or frog or whatever, what would it be?
Oh, God. I love everything Barbados, so I may have to go for the most strangely named child in school, which would be Dawley's.
Dawley's.
Dawley's, yeah.
And what would that be for? Like, is that as a son?
I think we probably best stick to a cat or a dog with that one. You won't be thanked. Yeah. So
Dawley's.
Dawley's, yeah.
Dawley's the dog. I'm into it. That's awesome.
He'll carry a little barrel around his neck with rum in it.
Oh God, it's like a Saint Bernard out in the mountains.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, cool. So I have now organized this stuff. So as per usual, I also move someone from the winners of tote bags over to my special list, as you know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flip the camera again. And just so there's proof, I've not changed the color. So Mr. Tom Profit is still white, but he is on this list here. So I'm going to make sure this is sorted A to Z. And we have how many numbers? Let's see. 2 is the first number. And 65 is the last number. So any number between 2 and 65, and both numbers included.
6.
6. All right, scroll to the top. Hit the random button. Dan the Bourbon Man. I wonder what he likes.
He's a gin guy, isn't he?
Dan the Bourbon Man. A bourbon drinker, like myself. I respect him. That's awesome. Dan, if you watch this, congratulations. I'm not sure. I believe you are in New York or on the East Coast, so you may or may not be available right now, but I will definitely let you know that you're on my special list. And Tom Profit, the winner of this week's tote bag. Amazing.
Awesome.
What? Mark keeps going on here. Jack Daniels. Is that going to be the name of your cat, Mark?
Actually, there's a bartender that I know in Manchester. Used to be a bartender at Elixir, which was an unbelievably good bar. That then the bar got sold, I think, for the site to be redeveloped. And his name is Jack Daniels. Unfortunately, because Jack Daniels is a brand, he has to spell his first name J-A-K, because Facebook won't allow him to have a brand name as his Facebook name, even though it's his actual name.
Oh wow!
Crazy.
There goes the firstborn Dorley.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not possible. It has to be a dog.
No. Yes, gonna be a dog. Yeah, it has to be a dog.
Oh my God! If I have a dog, I'll call him Mark Lattimore. Oh, let's see if he responds. Jacques Daniels.
Jacques.
I thought that was a cognac.
Classy and cool.
Oh God. All right, cool. I think that's it. That's it for this week. Stephen,
Cool.
Thanks so much for joining. And again, congratulations on winning
Cheers, man.
Writer and Website of the Year. That's a rum achievement, if any.
It is indeed. Yeah, it's definitely cause for celebration anyway.
Yeah. No, indeed. I'll drink another one to you. I might. This one here is it's running out, so I'll go and pour another one in your honor.
Thank you. I've moved on to the 46% Hampden now, so
All right.
yeah, it's moved into bedtime drinks now.
So it's slowing down. Yeah.
Yeah. Got to shift the cold somehow.
All right, cool. Thanks so much for joining today.
No, cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Peace out.
Cool. Cheers, man.
All right, Stephen James, legend. Cool. That's it for this week. This week's winner of the tote bag is Tom Profit from the British Bourbon Society. If you're not listening and viewing this right now, I will let you know. I'll post it up afterwards. So congratulations, and thanks again to Stephen for joining today. Awesome to learn stuff about rum. As you may or may not have noticed, I know absolutely nothing about rum, so I'm glad Stephen was here to educate me. So next week, we will have another guest on my Tuesday show. I will reveal that in a little bit later. So until then, I think it's time for me to pour another drink, and peace.
Thank you for watching this episode of Spirits People Live. For more videos, check out spiritspeople.com, subscribe on YouTube, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, where we connect you with spirits people worldwide.